Hello guys, this is Vinit from forex and I'm coming live after a long time. Hope Hopefully the hiatus won't be as long as it has been. There was a little bit of an echo there because I guess I had my speakers on. I just turned them off. Hopefully it should be fine now. Um, a lot has been going on for the last few weeks, especially around the Middle East and the war between US, Israel, and Iran, and it's been rattling the currency markets, actually all markets, and all what we really care about is the currency markets because that's where we are active and that's how we make our living. And I thought I'll talk a bit about what I think is going on, how it's going to impact the currency markets in the short term and in the long term, and which currencies to look out for, and where do I see things going. Usually, I don't like to talk politics. I don't talk politics, but today I'm going to deviate a little bit and talk to you guys, share my thoughts, um, where I'm not actually picking any sides because I don't have a dog in this fight, even though I may have personal opinions, what I think is right or wrong, but I want to keep them to myself and I want to do an objective analysis of where people are missing. I think they're missing the point a little bit by considering the fact that, hey, Trump is a villain here. He's going out. Yes, he's a joker. I know that. No doubts about it. How he's conducting himself in this war effort is absolute shameful. His conduct is shameful. His uh, everything what he's doing is absolute shameful. And I hope I get that across. No doubts about that. You cannot be calling other leaders and countries, send them to stone ages. Like, what does he think? That's not how you talk as a leader of the free world. And I despise that, and I think he needs to take a step back and tone the rhetoric down a little bit, not a little bit, a whole lot. And he can do that. He can start by uh, treating Iran as an equal and respecting Iranian people and not necessarily call them names and call them derogatory phrases. So that said, I think people are missing a point where everybody's saying that the US is losing the war, US is losing the plot here. I beg to differ. I think people are oversimplifying it. I think the media is oversimplifying it. I think population in general, I think the lot of analysts are oversimplifying it. I think it's a lot more complicated what meets the eye. And I think it's a game of chess, not checkers. Trump is playing a game of chess in this whole conflict. There is about 100 million barrels of oil that is needed every day. Out of that, 20% comes out of this Strait of Hormuz, and then rest 60%, 20% comes out of Russia and the allies, and the 60% is controlled by the United States of America, and that includes the Canadian oil. Canada is not going to go against the United States of America. Canada is going to stand by Yeah, I think I lost connection for yeah, I think I lost connection for a little bit. Can you guys hear me? Okay. think it's gonna show up. I think it's gonna come. Um, okay, here we go. Okay, so as I said, 20% of the oil comes from the strait that is being controlled by Iran. 20% is from other countries that includes Russia, and the 60% of the oil is controlled by the United States. And it's all about petrodollar. It's all about dollar hegemony. And whoever thinks that the dollar is about to go to zero and nobody's going to use the dollar and dollar is not going to be used for petrodollar to buy petrol or gas or oil, they are mistaken and they are sorely mistaken. 60% of the oil is still controlled by the United States. That includes the United States, that includes the world's biggest oil reserve, that is Venezuela. So if 60% of the oil is controlled by one country, who do you think is going to set the rules? That one country, because they own everything when it comes to the infrastructure, when it comes to all the continents, say North America, South America, a lot of Europe, so if anybody thinks that the dollar is dead, I think they need to rethink their theory. If everybody thinks that the oil will get priced in any other currency than dollars, I think you need to rethink your uh, thesis because it is not going to happen anytime soon. Long term, who knows? Long term, everybody's dead. But in the short to medium term, for the next foreseeable future, for the next few years, I don't see US dollar going anywhere. If anything, I see US dollar to get even more stronger because the battle lines have been drawn. What is the alternative to the US dollar? One, no. How much one is gets actually gets traded on a daily basis? What is a commodity that is priced in one? Nothing. Yes, Iran wants to price its oil in one, but how much oil does Iran produce? 4, 5, 6%? Not even actually. All the Middle Eastern countries, yes, they are very unhappy with the United States, and yes, they may want to price their oil in any currency than say US dollar. Yes, so what? 60% is still going to be priced in the US dollars. And guess what? Now, once this war is over, once this conflict is over, all these countries are going to rethink their defense. All these countries are going to think that, okay, now that we cannot depend on the United States for our security, what do? They are going to weapon up. They are going to bring up their defenses. And guess what, guys? Who makes the best, top of the line, state of the art weapon systems? That is United States. And what is the United States going to accept in exchange for the defense equipment is going to be the dollars. So the dollars that they're going to lose in the trade against oil, they're going to more than gain that in the defense equipment that they're going to produce. So, if anything, the defense industry, the industrial complex, it is going to explode like anything. Again, there's an idea. If you want to invest, now is the time to go into defense stocks because they are going to just absolutely explode. US was going to take care of all these Middle Eastern these uh, Gulf countries like the Saudi Arabia, the UAE, all that, and US left them high and dry. And then Iran is attacking them like anything. So now, once this conflict is over, they are going to ramp up their own defense. They are going to make sure that they're not dependent on the United States or any other country for their own defense. They are going to ramp it up. And guess who is going to sell them the defense equipment? They're going to go running to the US. They're going to go running to France. But France produces nowhere close to when it comes to quality and the lethalness of the weapons. Nothing. No country beats the United States. All these countries that are going to go to United States, pay in the US dollars, will have to sell won. So now they're going to sell their oil in won, get the won, sell the won, buy US dollars, and to go spend on US defense equipment. So guys, do you see the picture? So now the 60% of the oil is already priced in dollars. All the defense equipment demand that's going to come open up is going to be priced in dollars. So whoever think the dollar hegemony is over, I think is heavily mistaken. If anything, dollar, in my opinion, is only going to get stronger. The grip of the dollar on the world financial markets or financial system is only going to get bigger and bigger and tighter, not looser. So you may hate it. I hate it, but that's a fact. Here we are talking about the facts. We are not talking about what we want markets to do. We are talking about what markets are going to do based on the facts on the ground. And guess what, guys? Once, and that's the other thing. Everybody is going with the assumption that the United States is going to lose this war. I beg to differ. Will they win 100%? I don't know that. Anything can happen. But what are the facts on the ground? Yes, they are controlling. Yes, Iran is controlling the strait. Once that deadline that Trump has given is over and the entire electric grid is blown out, there is no electricity in the country. How do you think they're going to survive? How long do you think they're going to survive? People are start going to be dying very fast. Within a matter of hours, you'll see the death toll climb like anything. And who can restore the power the fastest is going to be the United States, is going to be the allies of United States. Again, do I like it? No, I don't like it. I don't like any of it. But the facts are facts. Whoever think that the US is losing this war, it may seem like it, but I don't think that's the case. I really don't think. Because once they start bringing down their energy infrastructure within the country, I think I think they're going to capitulate. You'll see people on the street, you will see huge protests, and I think people are going to capitulate. I think the um, they are as the government is going to, the leaders are going to capitulate. They're going to go and look for a way out, and they have some kind of compromise. They're going to open the Strait of Hormuz, and then they are going to back off, and there's going to be some kind of a ceasefire. That's, I think, what's going to happen. And if people are thinking that US is just going to fold and go home, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, what happens now if US is able to control Iranian oil? Okay, the first situation was that US is going to not going to control Iranian oil. They're only going to control what they're controlling and going to um, price everything in the US dollars. Now, what happens if US wins? They are going to price everything in Iranian oil in the US dollars. They are going to then force that nobody in the Gulf area region is to or price any of the oil in anything other than the US dollar. They are going to have a huge monopoly over the oil industry in the Middle East and throughout the world. So I think US, I know it's going to sound dramatic, from a country, I think, from a nation, US is going to become an empire. So from a nation state, it is going to become an empire state where it is going to start treating countries as their colonies. Right now, they were doing it covertly. They were doing it under the guise of just paying them and putting the military bases in those countries. But the countries were sovereign, like UAE, like Saudi Arabia, and it's just that they were kind of giving their space and their air to the United States. And going forward, I think it is going to change, and it is going to change in favor of the United States because no country in the world can stand up to the United States if they win Iran. That's a big caveat. Then the nation state will then become an empire state. And I don't think anybody wants to see that. I don't. Now that happens. What do you think is going to happen to the US dollar? What do you think is going to happen once the US says, once Trump says, nobody can buy any commodity other than US dollar, or they won't get any oil. And that includes China. China is heavily dependent on the Middle East oil. Australia is heavily dependent on Middle East oil. So what if Trump goes out and says no other currency other than the US dollar? And if you do that, they get cut off from the oil that is controlled by the US. So there are heavy, heavy repercussions, guys. I think US is going to get stronger coming out of this, and it's going to be more hated. A lot of countries are going to hate the US. Everybody's going to hate Trump even more. He's going to be the most hated leader in the history of mankind. But I think he comes out stronger. I think the US comes out stronger out of this. I know this is a contrarian position, but that's how I look at things. It's not as simple as it's not as black and white. Everybody hates him. They cannot look past their hate, their hatred towards Trump. Analysts on the televisions, they cannot look past their hatred for America and Israel and their actions. I don't for a second think what they did at Gaza was right. No, it wasn't. It was a massacre. I don't for a second think what Trump is doing in Iran is right. No. On the other hand, I don't think what Iran is doing is right to its people. So not everybody is right, nor everybody is wrong. Truth is somewhere in the middle. And that's where I think people are getting very, very partisan, and they are missing the big picture and thinking that this is the end of Trump and this is the end of the United States. I think it's anything but. And other thing people are not paying attention to is what's happening in India and Pakistan. And I think that's going to be another flashpoint. That's going to be another geopolitical storm that is brewing like anything. Pakistan is about to go bankrupt. Okay, guys, they owed a lot of money to UAE, they owed a lot of money to Saudi Arabia, and they just called their loans back. And that is not going to be good for Pakistan in the short to medium term. So I expect that they are going to do a false flag against India, and that India will be forced to respond, and then Pakistan is going to go crying to the Middle East countries like UAE and Saudi Arabia, crying for help, crying for money. And I think they don't have much of a choice other than to go the India route, other than to go aggressive against India. So I think that's another thing that everybody is missing. Not everybody is paying attention to that. Everybody's got their eyes locked on Trump. Everybody's got their eyes locked on the war, the Middle Eastern war, the Iranian war, and I think people are missing the big picture here, and I think people are going to get surprised when Trump actually dials up the intensity of the attack, and I think that's where we are going to get surprised. So that said, I will be back. Depending on if something happens, I'll try to come back as much as I can. Because now earlier I was getting a little lazy with the setup and everything. Now that I have a setup just the way I want to, because I wanted to do multiple streams on different platforms at the same time. And now that I've figured it out how to do that, I will be coming online more often than not. And if you want me to cover a particular topic, just do let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do that. So I'll try and come later on in the day. If not, I'll be back tomorrow to discuss things, because everything is changing so dramatically, so fast every day, and you blink your eye, and you miss something. So right now, the biggest thing is how Iran responds to the 48-hour um, notice, and how Trump responds to the fact if they decide not to comply. So as of now, Iran is saying we're not going to comply. But if they do, I don't know what the ceasefire is going to look like. But I do know there are certain points where they want it to be some like 40, 45 days. They're going to open the strait, and then all hostilities will be stopped, and then they'll have more negotiations during that time. But knowing the history of the Iranian people, knowing the history of Americans when they fight, and how often they have violated ceasefires in the past, even if the ceasefire happens, I don't think it's going to last long. I personally don't think it's going to last long. It's going to be, I don't know. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Right now, let's keep our eyes on how Israel, I'm not talking, sorry, Israel, how Iran responds or not responds to the ultimatum for the 48 hours, and then what US is going to do. So if they can do one of many things. One is they don't go too hard. They just show Iran that hey, we can destroy your infrastructure, and they destroy something something small. Or they can go full Monty. They can go really hard at them, and they force them to surrender, and then everything is over. But that I think is going to have a lot of people killed in that process, because once you lose the electric grid, guys, the first casualty is the hospitals. Then like hotels, and then your food supply. Everything is dependent on electricity these days. uh, I just hope and I just pray that that's not going to happen. But who knows? Who thought we would be sitting here talking about this war, this attack that has happened? Again, that's it for now, and I'll talk to you either later today, or I'll come back live tomorrow at some point. Again, if you have any topics that you want me to cover, anything you want me to discuss, do send me a message either on YouTube. I'm live on YouTube, and or at on Telegram. I'll make sure I check periodically and make sure I cover everything that you guys want me to. So then, stay safe and take care.